The last 5 parashot in the book of Shemot deal with the details of the Mishkan and its vessels. So going back to Parashat Terumah tells us about the Mishkan's fundraising and the directions for its construction. Last week's Torah portion, Parashat Tetzaveh, tells us about the fabrication of Aaron's vestments and all the Kohanim's garments. This week's Torah portion, Parashat Tisa, speaks about the donation of the half a shekel primarily and more. Next week, Parashat Vayakhel speaks about the Mishkan's fundraising and actual construction, and Parashat Pekudei, the last parasha, speaks about a summary and putting it all together and the setup of the Mishkan. So in truth, these Torah portions don't fit in any specific chronological order. It doesn't go. It's actually the quite reverse. The Mishkan was actually a result and a consequence of the Jewish people sinning and worshiping the golden calf, and yet the Torah only tells us about this in this week's Torah portion, which is after already the directions and the commandments a lot of the part of the Mishkan. Even within this week's Torah portion, not everything is in chronological order. So let's speak. This week's Torah portion opens up with the commandment to count the Jewish people. Now, this was the first time since Yaakov and his family came down to Egypt when they left for a famine and they came to reunite with Yosef. This was the first time that the Jewish people were counted. Last time they were counted, they were 70, and that was just Jacob and his immediate close members. And this time, they are 603,550, and that is men between ages 20 and 60. Based on a rough calculation, that gives us an approximate 3 million Jews that stood at Mount Sinai. That's men, women, children, and elders. The Jewish people were counted a total of 3 times, and this was the first time they were being counted. This took place the day after Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, the Jewish people were finally forgiven, and there's an atonement for their sin of the golden calf. And the following day is when HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded them to make the Mishkan, and also commanded them to charge half a shekel for each man ages 20 and 60 as a donation. The second time they were counted was 8 months later in the month of Iyar, and this was after the inauguration of the Mishkan. And the third and final time in the Torah that the Jewish people were counted was right at the end of the 40 years before they entered the land of Israel. Now, throughout Jewish history, every year during the month of Adar, the Jewish people would come and make their half a shekel donation to the Mishkan, and then later for the Bet HaMikdash, and this would now be set aside for the communal sacrifices for the upcoming year, starting the month of Nisan. The Torah then continues and tells us that Hashem commanded Bnei Israel and Moshe Rabbeinu to make the kior, the wash basin, which was in the courtyard of the Mishkan, and it served to have the Kohanim washing their hands and feet before they would perform their service in the Mishkan. Then Hashem instructs Moshe Rabbeinu to make this compound mixture of spices and oil, which would be used as the famous anointment oil. This oil was used to sanctify all of the vessels and utensils in the Mishkan, and also to anoint Aaron and his children as first-time Kohanim, and then in the future for every Kohen Gadol and king of Israel to be anointed in as well. Moshe is then commanded to take 11 specific spices, mix them together, and that would be the incense offering. This offering was offered twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, in the Mishkan, later also in the Bet HaMikdash, on the golden altar. The odor of this incense offering was so delightful that the entire city of Jerusalem smelled like it, and it even perfumed anyone in its proximity. Hashem then designates Betzalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, from the tribe of Yehudah, to be the chief architect of the construction of the Mishkan. He was only 13 at this time, way beyond his years in wisdom, and his right-hand man, Aholiav, the son of Achisamach, from the tribe of Dan. After Hashem finally finishes the commandments to Moses of building the Mishkan, and the construction of it, he finally then ends off this section with another warning about observing Shabbat. Now, this warning is important because, and Rashi explains, one would think that Bnei Israel should be extremely eager and zealous in constructing the Mishkan, which they should be. However, that does not override the observance of Shabbat, and therefore on Shabbat, no construction of the Mishkan was to take place.